Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Virginia Virtual Farm to Table program. My name is Lena Wen. I'm the 4-H Extension Agent for Fauquier County, and the purpose of this program is to highlight Virginia-grown produce and livestock that are raised on farms across the Commonwealth and demonstrate how to create a delicious and nutritious meal with a highlighted ingredient. This educational program will highlight Virginia agriculture, community nutrition, and farm-to-table connections, and is brought to you by Virginia Cooperative Extension. Virginia Cooperative Extension is an educational outreach program of Virginia's land-grant universities, which include Virginia Tech and Virginia State University. Virginia Cooperative Extension's educational programs are delivered through a network of faculty at these two universities, 108 county and city offices, 11 agricultural research and extension centers, and 6 4-H educational centers. So I encourage all of you to participate in your local VCE programs if you have not already. And in today's session, we're going to be focusing on pork, and we're going to start with Livy Precer, who is an Agriculture and Natural Resources Extension Agent for Southampton County, and she's going to tell us about raising pigs. And then Ruth Wallace, who is a 4-H agent in Buckingham County, is going to showcase some ideas for cooking pork in a crock pot. And Linda Eanes is also a 4-H agent, and she's going to serve as our Q&A monitor for today. So if you have any questions that you would like answered, you can put those into the Q&A box, and we'll try to get to as many of those as possible. So I'll go ahead and pass it off to Livy.
Good afternoon, everybody. Like Lena said, my name is Livy Precer, and I am the Agricultural and Natural Resource Extension Agent, actually in Isle of Wight County. And today we're going to talk a little bit about pork. So I wanted to talk about the history of pork first. So Virginia is historically known for our country ham or honey ham. You all have probably eaten that at some time or another, whether it's on a sandwich or a biscuit or maybe in a casserole. And here's some country hams. A lot of folks don't know what they look like, but here is one that's in a bag. Here's my husband holding one at one of our local county fairs. And then here are some country hams that are in one of our local smokehouses. Pork can be traced back to the 1700s, so it's been around for quite a while. And pork ranks 13th in the Commonwealth for the top agricultural commodities. And we have about 76,000 hogs in Virginia. So it is very popular industry in Virginia. So I wanted to talk a little bit about raising pork because I didn't know who would be on here if you're interested in raising pork or if you're just, want some knowledge about it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the most popular breeds that we have in Virginia. We have Hampshire, Landrace, Duroc, Yorkshire, Berkshire, Spotted, and Chester Whites. There are several other different breeds, but these are the most popular here in Virginia. If you're wondering what pigs get fed some type of grain mix. There will be added minerals and vitamins just depending on your operation. And then of course, show pigs get fed just a little bit different feed. But again, this is just for general pasture or commercial pigs. If you're wondering about reproduction for pork, reproduction can be done naturally or AI, and AI stands for artificial insemination. That would be done by us, or naturally would be done by a boar. Gestation for pigs is around 114 days, and something that my kids like to do, this is very easy for them to remember, so it equates to about 3 months, 3 weeks, and 3 days for the gestation for a pig. And their litters can range anywhere from 6 to 13 piglets. Another question I get a lot about pasture-raised pork is what kind of fencing they need. And if you look to the picture to the right, you can see just some type of agricultural welded wire is used in this operation. And at the bottom of the screen, there is a small strand of electrical wire running across the bottom, because if you've been around pigs, they like to root. And so the electrical wire at the bottom helps them from rooting out of the fence and kind of helps them protect themselves. So like I said, there's two different types of pork, pasture pork and commercial pork. First, we're going to talk about pasture pork. These pigs would be housed in shelters or enclosed barns. They would be offered heat lamps in the winter to help keep warm, or some type of sprinklers in the summer to keep cool. And then they would have some type of water system with a well or whatnot to give them access to water. Pastured pork does require more land and labor just because of the operation. These are two different shelters I wanted to show you all. At the bottom left hand, this is just some type of wire covered with a tarp, very easy shelter. As you can see, there's a pig inside and pigs all around. The one to the right is the one that you'll see in the video following this in just a second. But it's just a structure with an opening that they can go in, and they utilize heat lamps in the winter and sprinklers in the summer. And if you've been around pigs enough, you know that pigs are very similar to us as humans. So if we're hot, they're hot. If we're cold, they're cold. And it's very important to keeping them cool and warm during the seasons. And the next slide is going to be a video that I took, a very short video at our agricultural land lab here in Isle of Wight with the farm manager, kind of just showing you the pigs and showing you the shelter a little bit closer.
Hey everybody, it's Livy. I'm here at the Isle of Wight County Schools Agricultural Land Lab with Daniel Judkins. He is the farm manager here. And as you can see, we're here in front of their pigs and the shelter here. And so I'm just going to ask Daniel a few questions about the operation here. So Daniel, can you tell us a little bit about these pigs, how old they are and what breed they are?
So the pigs are right at 3 months old. They were donated to our program. They are landrace crossed with Duroc.
And what is your plan for these pigs as they age?
So the plan for these pigs is our students will raise them. They'll feed them every day. We'll take care of them. They will take care of them like any other producer would. The goal for these animals is they actually will become sausage. They will be a fundraiser for our program. It gives our students the opportunity to see from start to finish on pork production.
And what do you feed these guys?
So right now these guys are on a mixed ration of a 16% crude protein pellet mixed with ground corn. They get about 3 pounds per head per day. Our students weigh it out and make sure they're getting the correct ration.
So we see the shelter in the background. I'm going to go over here just a little bit so you can see the shelter a little bit better. But can you tell us a little bit about the shelter and what it does? Like, what do you do in the winter with the pigs and things like that?
So that shelter allows the pigs to get out of the sun in the summertime. Kind of keeps them cooler. There's a hole in there that we've got water that flows into, so they've got a nice mud hole in the summertime. They can stay nice and cool, stay out of the sun. Being they are white colored, they will get sunburned. So we do like to try to keep them protected from the sun as much as possible. In the wintertime, we'll actually put some heat lamps in there. As everybody knows, in Virginia, it does get kind of cold in the wintertime. So we will put heat lamps in, and that will just kind of give them a little added heat factor inside of the shed.
All right, very nice. Thank you. Hey,
Okay, so we talked a little bit about the pastured pork, and now we're going to talk about commercial hog houses. Commercial hog houses are enclosed barns. They're climate controlled and they're all in and all out. And what that basically means is when you get a group of pigs, they come in at the same time and they go out at the same time. A lot of commercial hog houses are shower in and shower out facilities. And what that means is when an employee comes to the farm, they shower in the barn, then go to work in the barn. And then once they're done their day, they shower out. And so they'll shower before they leave. And that's just to help with biosecurity reasons, helping to protect the pigs and keep diseases minimal. Commercial hog houses require less label. There are pros and cons to both pasture and commercial, so it just depends on your operation. With commercial hog houses, there are traditionally 3 types of barns. Again, it just depends on the operation. The first would be a farrowing barn. Those are where the sows and piglets, or the piglets are actually born with the mama pigs, as that's a sow. And they will be kept there, and then they will be weaned at 10 to 15 pounds or 4 weeks old. Then they'll be moved to the nursery barns. They'll be there for a few weeks as well. and they will leave when they're about 40 to 60 pounds or 8 to 10 weeks old. Then they'll head to the growing or finishing barns, and then they'll be fed out there to market weight, which is about 285 to 300 pounds. And then they'll move on to harvest at that time. And to the right, there is a graphic about growing pigs, just so you can kind of see the size difference. This is from North Carolina farm families. I just like the graphic. And then the bottom picture is a picture of a commercial hog house. As you can see, they kind of have some sorting areas. They have, you know, the slatted floor. They have some pig waterers, and then they have some troughs for feed. So that's just to kind of give you an idea of a commercial hog house. So what else do we use pork for? Pork is the world's most widely consumed meat. So we obviously use it for meat, for cured meats, fresh meat, dog's treats, and dog food. We also use it for biomedical reasons. Like I said, the humans are very similar to pigs. So we're able to use them for heart valves, skin grafts, and even insulin. And then we also have a lot of other different, other byproducts that come from pork, including glue, gelatin, cosmetics, plastic, and manure used from fertilizer, or used as fertilizer, excuse me. And these are two graphics that I like to use when I'm teaching youth about pork production, whether it's the meat side or anything byproducts. And this is just kind of showing you the percentage of carcass and what the meat goes to. And then the bottom one is everything but the oink, because we use it for everything, like I said. And like I said, pork is very popular in Virginia, so we have several different businesses in Virginia. Smithfield Foods is one of the largest. Their world headquarters is actually here in Smithfield in Isle of Wight County. So they're there in Smithfield. Edwards Hams is in Surrey. Kites Country Ham is in Madison, and Feltz is in Ivor. We also have several small farms and niche markets throughout the state that offer pork products. They could be pasture and it could be commercial. These are three of the farms that I have worked with: Windhaven Farms, Papa Weaver's Pork, and P&A Homestead. And if you're looking for any type of pork product in your area, please call your local extension office or your local farmers markets, and they can probably connect you with a pork producer or somewhere that you could buy it locally. And next slide, please. And there's also several different pork education resources. If you're interested in pork production, or if you're interested in learning more about, you know, where your pork comes from and things like that, reach out to your local extension office. We'd be more than happy to help you. The Virginia Pork Council also has a lot of great resources. They have a website that has some youth resources, also some recipes, and their board is very active in youth education, so they'd be happy to work with you. Smithfield Foods also has a lot of great resources online. They have recipe cards, a lot of great resources on. Also, one that I forgot to put on here is the Pork Council. They do a lot of national resources throughout the United States. They have a lot of youth resources, a lot of recipe cards, a lot of education tools, a lot of different graphics that you can pull. And then if you're interested in getting into pork production, I encourage you to visit some other local farms to kind of see what would be best for your operation. And then check out your local school system if they have a farm, whether it be a land lab or a FFA program, or even a 4-H program, that they may have some pigs on site that you can come tour, get some ideas of your own, and kind of take it back to your own operation. Those are some great pork educational resources that we have throughout the Commonwealth. And next slide, please. And that is my quick overview of pork. I was very broad with it. I want to say thank you to the Isle of Wight County School Agricultural Land Lab for hosting us and allowing me to video their operation. And here's my contact information, and I'm going to turn it over to Ruth for the cooking portion, and we'll answer questions after that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Livy. So when we take a look at all of the different cuts of pork, we notice that there are lots of different cooking techniques. Each one is specific to the type of cut, how much muscling, how tender it is, how much fat is on it. What we're going to focus on today is looking at a slow cooker pork loin, and the same recipe can also be used for a Boston butt or a pork shoulder. The pork loin, of course, is a much more tender cut of meat, and the other two are a little more tough, and so they require a little longer cooking time. We're using the braising method of cooking, which is in liquid in a covered pot, and that tends to make your meat much more tender. So let's go ahead and take a look at the video.
Today I'm going to show you how to make a slow cooker pork loin. This recipe can actually be used for a Boston butt or a pork shoulder. The difference is that the pork loin, because it's a more tender cut of meat, is going to take approximately 5 hours in the slow cooker, whereas the other two cuts are going to take almost double that time. So the first thing I did is to wash my hands really, really well with soap and water before I started. And now I'm ready to put some seasoning on my meat and sear the meat. So I'm turning my pan on, and then I'm going to add a teaspoon of my olive oil to that pan. Then I'm going to make my spice rub. And so I've got my container, and I measured out my ingredients already. But for my spice rub, I have 2 teaspoons of paprika, 2 teaspoons of thyme, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder. Cayenne pepper is an optional ingredient. I like to have some in there, so I've got a half of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. I've got half a teaspoon of regular pepper, and the recipe calls for 2 teaspoons salt. You can, of course, reduce the sodium by not putting quite as much salt in there. And with my very clean hands, I'm going to go ahead and pick up my pork loin. And if you want to, you can put some food service gloves on just to keep your hands from getting quite so messy. Adding my oil. And then I'm going to take my spice rub and simply rub all over my pork loin. So now I'm going to put it in to sear. So I'm going to leave it for just a few minutes on each side to sear it, just to give it kind of a crispy outside. It'll help contain juices. It'll help my piece of meat stick together in the slow cooker a little bit better. While we're searing our meat, I'll mention that pork is in the protein group of my plate. It is a food that helps give us energy, build muscle, help repair tissue. It's a lean meat. We are supposed to get 5.5 ounces of protein a day, and our pork fits in with that protein to help us build tissue, to help with blood flow, repair tissue, help us get strong muscles. Okay, so now I have finished searing my meat. You can see it's got a nice kind of, not quite crispy, but hard and darkened piece there. So I'm going to remove my pork loin from the skillet and put it, ooh, that was hot, and put it in my crock pot. I've got one that's just a tad bit bigger than my crock pot. I'm going to stuff him down in there. I'm going to turn off my skillet and go wash my hands. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I am back again after having just finished washing my hands, and I've turned my crock pot on low. I'm going to turn my skillet back on because now I want to make my honey butter sauce. The directions in the recipe say to wipe out the skillet, and you're more than welcome to do that. I like to keep some of those seasonings and the oil that was in there just to add some more flavor to my sauce. For the sauce, we're going to use 3/4 cup of honey. And we had a previous virtual farm to table session on honey production and cooking with honey. If you want to go back and look at that from late May. And this honey does give it a very sweet flavor. The first time I tried this recipe, I was a little bit surprised, but I really, really enjoyed it. It's actually a family favorite now. So I need my 3/4 cup of honey. I need to put in a stick of butter. The recipe calls for 5 cloves of garlic. My family doesn't like quite that much garlic, so I've got about 2 teaspoons of the minced garlic that you buy already done up for you, so I didn't have to crush it myself. And then a 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar. Pork is an excellent source of nutrients that support our health. Some of these include vitamin B6, thiamine, phosphorus, niacin, and selenium, as well as protein that we mentioned earlier. They're also a good source of things like zinc, riboflavin, and potassium. So pork is a powerhouse in terms of nutritional value. Okay, so we're at a good simmer, and it's been simmering for about 30 seconds. I'm going to turn my skillet off, very carefully pour this sauce over my pork loin. So I'm going to put the cover on, leave it on low for about 5 hours, and then we'll come back and take a look at the rest of it in a little while. Welcome back. It's time to check on our pork loin. I'm going to carefully lift the lid away from me so the steam comes away from me. And I want to check the internal temperature of my pork. Usually in the crock pot, I don't have any trouble at all getting to my desired temperature. I need my temperature to go up to 145 in the middle, and oh, it's way past that. It's up on 160, 170. So I'm going to remove this from the pot, and I'm going to place it on my cutting board so that it can rest. It needs to rest for 3 minutes and still be at temperature. I don't think I'm going to have a problem with that. While it's resting, the next step, and let me turn off my crock pot, the next step is to go ahead and make a sauce reduction using the liquid from the slow cooker. I have to admit, I personally use the liquid without going through a reduction process. And very carefully pour the liquid from the slow cooker into it. I have put some cornstarch, and oh, I should have saved out some liquid. I'll cheat. I poured some cornstarch and just a little tiny bit of water in here to create a thickening agent that I can add to my sauce, which is already starting to simmer. So I'm going to bring this to a boil and let it boil for a few minutes to try to reduce in size. And what reducing a sauce simply is taking the liquid and letting about half of it boil off through evaporation so that you're left with more of a syrup. The consistency of about maple syrup is what we're looking for with this. So this is going to take a few minutes. Okay, so let's take a look at this sauce. If you look, it started at this level. You can see where the rim was, where it started, and it's already reduced down about halfway, maybe not quite that much. Okay, so we already took our temperature, and we know that this is very hot. There we go, nice and tender, cooked all the way through. Yum. Remember, we want to fit into my plate, so our pork is going to be our protein. We could use some vegetables, maybe a grain like a roll or some rice, some fruit, and a glass of milk to round out our plate for dinner tonight. Enjoy.
Okay, and so that was our video on making the slow cooker pork loin. I hope you enjoyed that. And at this time, Livy and I are available to answer any questions.
Excuse me, the question is, what is the recommended amount of protein per day? Ruth, I suppose that would be a question for you. And the roast, they say, looks yummy.
The roast is yummy, I can tell you that. Basically, you need 5.5 ounces of protein a day. You don't have to get that all at one time. It can be spread throughout the day.
Okay, thank you, Ruth.
A serving of protein, I might add, is about the size of your fist.
All right, so if there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and wrap up for today. So we do have a few more farm to table sessions coming up. Next week's will be on aquaponics, and then Livy will be back with us the week after that talking about peanuts. So you can find information about all of our farm to table programs at the link below, which I'll also send out in an email. You can also find recordings from previous sessions there. And when you close today's session, you will get a pop-up asking you to take a quick survey about your experience today in this session. So please, we welcome all feedback if you can take a moment to share that. But I'd like to thank Livy and Ruth and Linda for helping to pull this session together. And I hope you all have a good weekend.